What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Come with me if you want to live.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
The Force will be with you, always.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 20th Century Geek. I'm your regular host, Scott Weatherly, and in a few moments I will be joined by Mike and Megan to continue our Batman retrospective. That's right, this is part 2B. In the last episode, we covered off Mask of the Phantasm, the animated film that sort of came out and spun out of the animated series. And now we're going back into those live-action films. We're going to be talking about Batman Forever and the god-awful Batman and Robin. So buckle in, sit back, and enjoy as we start the rest of our retrospective. So, we're now going to jump forward 2 years, and we get to Batman Forever. Michael Keaton had been offered a script, been offered to come back for a third film, turned it down. That happened in 93, 94. And also Tim Burton had written a script, and they said, no, we know what you did with the Batman Returns. We want to be able to sell merchandise for this. And so they actually said, well, why don't you go off and do something different? So they gave him Superman Lives, was what they were going to do, which is a whole different story. So this got given to Joel Schumacher, and they hired Val Kilmer. But this is supposed to be a direct sequel to Batman and Batman Returns. I struggle to see it as that because it's so different.
It's just Alfred, basically. It's the only common denominator, isn't it?
And Commissioner Gordon. They're the only two characters. Yeah.
The most important character in the whole thing. Commissioner Gordon.
How he's still in office after all these years.
Well, it's funny in Batman and Robin.
I was getting angry at him earlier.
Why was I getting angry at him? Ever done anything, which was in Batman and Robin, you got annoyed about. It's remember when they're crawling on the floor and he pulls the lever, and you were like,
oh yeah, he tears off the
Gordon.
freeze thing.
First time in
I was like,
films.
he's finally done something to help everyone.
He is useless.
Yeah.
We'll get into this. I'll get into a minute because even in the opening scene of this film, it sort of really lambasts of how useless he is. This film, it came in 1995. Directed by Joel Schumacher, starring, and this is a whole hell of a list. We've mentioned Michael Gough, who comes back as Alfred, so, glutton for punishment. Val Kilmer, Chris O'Donnell, Nicole Kidman, Tommy Lee Jones, and obviously Jim Carrey. More than that, though, weirdly, it's also got Drew Barrymore in.
Yeah, we noticed that.
And Debbie Mazar, who probably means nothing to you, but I know her as the baddie in it. She's done a whole load of stuff around this time. She's have you ever seen Beethoven?
That's the one about the dog.
The St. Bernard.
I think I have at some point.
I've seen it referenced. I've not seen it.
Okay, she's a baddie in that, and she's a baddie in something else, and so she was known in this era. But to see her in this, I was like, oh yeah, that's really weird. I forgot you did these.
We were like that with Drew Barrymore when we were like, Megan was like, is that Drew Barrymore? And we were like, is it? And then she got closer and looked at the screen and said something. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it is.
This is before. What is it? Charlie's Angels.
Okay, right.
So just before Charlie's Angels, really. At this point, she's got clean and she was trying to get herself back into Hollywood.
I see.
She went through a very, very dark period. Basically, E.T. fucked her up in many ways. But yeah, so Batman Forever. So this film is a neon delight. And the point I want to make straight away is the opening scene of this film is Tommy Lee Jones playing Two-Face, clearly having only ever watched Jack Nicholson's Joker as any reference point to what a Batman villain should be. He's about to rob a bank, and Commissioner Gordon and the police force are just literally stood around waiting for Batman to arrive.
You said that.
I just get so infuriated by it. I'm just like, why do they rely on Batman? Like literally one guy.
I think because Commissioner Gordon, I think he likes the Bat Singer was just standing next to it, looking up, going, "Where is he?"
They're like, why hasn't Batman arrived yet? I'm like, why don't you bloody do
She's
something
the
then.
commissioner. It's like you should
I'm
be
so
able to...
curious, do you think the police like stop a crime and like, do we arrest them? Or do we wait for Batman to come and beat them up for a bit? I'm not entirely sure what's supposed to happen here. What's the procedure? Yeah, so literally they've called in Batman, who jumps in. So he's no longer a mystery. He's no longer this sort of thing that sort of, obviously people are very aware of him because he literally jumps in, floats in, and then has a conversation with them all, including Chase Meridian, hate the name, who is never explained at any point in this film why she is now a part of the Gotham Police Department and why she's allowed to wander around crime scenes like freely.
That's the girl, isn't it? The main woman.
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you said that as well. We were watching.
What was her job again? She's a psychiatrist, no?
Yeah.
I don't understand why she was just allowed, and also why she's so nuts. She's also nuts.
She's thirsty for
she
Batman.
Is thirsty
scary,
for Batman.
like scary thirsty. It's like she wants
it. Is intense.
So
like
bad.
if I were Batman, I'd be like, get away from me.
Yeah,
you are gonna, like
that's the kind of thing where I'd be scared that she's gonna like cut me or something.
Yeah,
she's gonna get me naked and then cut me up.
Intense.
And it's like, and then she's really thirsty for Batman, and then just suddenly isn't, and it's like,
oh
okay.
yeah, she's super thirsty for Batman, and then when Batman tries to give it to her, she's like, no, I think I'm in love with somebody else.
Even though
it's literally you.
Even though you should be able to tell by not only the mouth, but also I always think the smell. Has it ever been referenced? Does Batman spray a different cologne when he's Bruce Wayne to Batman? Because when people get that close,
I don't think it's ever come up really.
Because I would like it sounds a bit odd now. Me about
I smell like a bat.
Or a bat.
Guano and musk.
But I felt it with a lot of the films when they get a certain closeness to Batman and they get a certain closeness to Bruce Wayne. It's like maybe Bruce Wayne has some sort of really expensive aftershave he puts on or something. But I have always kind of thought when it's the girls, especially if they kiss him, and I kind of thought it. I think in Spider-Man 1, I think she does figure it out anyway. It's always like, if I know it's slightly different because we're in a relationship, but if you went around fighting crime and I saw someone with your build outside fighting crime with a mask on and all that was there was your lips, and I kissed you, I would notice you immediately. There's no, like, there's no...
Well, she sort of does. There's a moment when she sort of does figure that out, doesn't she? With the kids. Yeah.
But
what's creepier, though, is obviously, like, because Bruce Wayne's, or Bruce in general, is pretty thirsty for her as well.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
The moment she turns down Batman and he walks away and has that little grin, and he's
my god, that creepy grin! I hated that
smiles
so
much.
The
whole film,
and he's a bit Bruce is gonna get some. It's really weird, and I do honestly think that, like, what makes it all the more creepier throughout all of this is there is no chemistry between Nicole Kidman and Val Kilmer at all.
No,
I don't think Val Kilmer has chemistry with anyone in the whole film. He's kind of, ironically, and maybe not, he's just isolated. I feel like every time he interacts with anyone, it's kind of like, I know the name of Val Kilmer.
I'm going to have to Google it because I've watched so many Batman films recently. They've all kind of merged into one. I need to specifically look up what this guy's face looks like.
He's very, very lippy when I see him. But it made me think of, has he been in many films where he's considered an amazing actor? Because I know he's been in lots of sort of 80s action films.
Around this time, a little bit earlier than this, or maybe even a bit, I'm not sure, no, was it 95? So it was before this. It was 93, 94. He did a film called Tombstone with Kurt Russell.
I've heard of it.
Which is about the Wyatt Earp and his brother. So it has like the gunfight in the OK Corral, and he plays Doc Holliday, and he's really, really good in it.
Oh, okay.
Like, he is excellent in it. And it's like one of those performances where you're like, oh yeah, Val Kilmer can act. Like, that's a really good thing. Like, because in the film, in Tombstone, he gets whatever it is. We know when you cough up blood and you sort of, he's got this thing. It's like an infection with his lungs and this other stuff. And it plays out to the end.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. There you go. Yeah. And he's really good in it. And so you go, well, he's clearly going to be good in other things. And then you watch other things and go, no, that. That's weirdly the only film he seems to want to do anything in. Yeah, he's done stuff and you go, he's all right. I mean, more recently, he did a film called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which was with Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. When Downey Jr. was on his comeback, sort of like, literally just pre Iron Man. And he's really good in that as well. Other than that, not really.
No, I didn't think he was like, a DiCaprio or anything like that. And I was like, I'm pretty certain he's not considered an amazing actor. He's had a couple of roles. And then you watch it in this and he's not offensive in it. He's not like that bad. He's just not that great. He's kind of bland, I think.
I wouldn't say that he's the worst thing about this film by any stretch of the imagination, but he doesn't really add any.
It doesn't make it any better, does he? He's just kind of, that is Batman in this film. Well, let's hope the rest of it's better.
Well, the thing is, but there's a moment at the circus when he stands up and he starts shouting, "Harvey, I'm Batman," and he's drowned out by the noise. Even if he wasn't, everyone would just go, "No, you're not."
Like Keaton's more believable, but it's like, with Val Kilmer, it's like, I don't think so. But I was going to say, one of the things that we noted, going back to sort of first point with Two-Face and things, is that I think Two-Face is probably the worst part about the whole film.
Oh, I hate it. I hated him so much.
He laughs more times in this film than even Jack Nicholson does in Batman 89. He laughs so frequently. It's
just that his face got melted with acid. Yeah, that's why he's got two faces. And like, because he's in a different film.
Dark Knight.
He's in the Dark Knight, so I've seen that. But like, what I don't understand about it, like I said at the beginning, is that just because of the fact that he has two colors to his face doesn't mean that he has a split personality. So I found it really confusing because the way that he was portraying it made it seem like he was meant to have a split personality, and I didn't think that was right. So I was getting really stressed. I was getting really frustrated with it because then Jim Carrey was basically just playing Jim Carrey in every other film that he's ever done. So like they were just trying to out crazy each other.
Well,
and
again, it's one of those things where with this, again, I'll actually go back to the animated series because it's around this era. In the animated series, they address this. So Harvey gets another fantastic origin story in the animated series. So he's obviously Harvey Dent. He's an attorney and he does other stuff. And in the animated series, like they introduce Harvey for like a whole half a season. So he's in there just as Harvey Dent for ages. So he introduces, he mixes with Batman and Bruce and with Commissioner Gordon and all this other stuff. And you see him gradually start to have a temper. Like he'll lose his temper and they're like, "All right, Harvey, chill your beans." And it builds up. And then when he has his origin story and you realize what this is, you find that he's just been, from a young age, he was always told to calm down and repress his emotion. So for years, he's been repressing this rage and this anger, and it's all just been building up inside him. And it does result in a kind of split personality.
Right, okay.
And it's never quite that, but he's sort of like, they call him Big Harv and Little Harv. Which is, a bit daft, but it works in the cartoon. But then when he becomes Two-Face, he's actually blown up and he gets a load of chemicals up like one side of him. And so it is that sort of thing. And it becomes a real battle between the Harv that is still Harvey Dent, and who is like, look, committing crime's not right. We're an attorney. We've got to, do this. And then Big Harv, who's like this violent gangster, who's like, no, this is my time now, and I'm going to really rip into all these people that have been shitty to us. And so it sort of makes sense. So you come into this and you go, okay, it's going to be all about that, isn't it? Like, they're going to have all this stuff. Nope. He's just crazy all the time, but just so happens to have a house or a room that's split in two between, like, house and garden, house and garden, and sort of like some 90s metalhead Nirvana. Like it just doesn't work. To show you how badly thought out it is, there's a scene, it's very early on, when Harvey runs away, when Two-Face runs away at the very beginning, you can barely see it, but he's like wearing two different shoes, because like half is like a suit and then the half's like crazy suit with cowboy boots. They're clearly at different heights, so when he runs, he limps away because the shoes are at different heights, and you're like, the costume department clearly didn't think this one through.
It's sad because he looks, the makeup of it looks so cool.
Oh, the makeup's awesome.
I think the start of this, I think I might have said to you, I think I might have enjoyed, I think Batman Returns actually still the best start, but I think the start of this film, because it goes into the action immediately, and I didn't expect it. Like, the credits go through, and then suddenly everything's happening. You're, oh, wow, okay, all guns blazing. And then, because obviously, myself, I know of Two-Face because of Dark Knight, and then also the games, and I have a peripheral knowledge of general Batman villains from the tiny amount I've picked up. But Megan's only seen him from Dark Knight, and obviously I think the Dark Knight portrayal is excellent, and it does really show a man go to the edge and an accident causes him to snap, and that gives him a reason. I think he's a really good character in that. But in this, it is is just not, and it doesn't work well with Riddler either. Because if you had someone really dead serious, or someone who wasn't, I think what was the way you described it? Trying to like compete each other.
It just seemed like they were trying to battle each other. But the other thing that really confused me as well, and I can't remember if I'm just getting this like mixed up in my head, but when he became Two-Face, didn't Batman try and save him? But he
that's in
slipped
Dark
or
Knight.
something.
It was.
No, that happened in this film. Yeah.
Sorry, no, I'm being
You see
silly.
news footage.
Yeah.
There. They showed news footage of Harvey having the acid thrown in his face, and Batman, clearly no longer the sort of like the Dark Knight, appears in broad daylight in a court in his costume to try and save Harvey.
Yeah, because then I was like, why does he hate Batman so much? He literally tried to help him.
No, you're right then. Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that bit completely.
I was like,
yeah.
Two-Face is like out to get Batman, but Batman tried to help him. He just didn't succeed. And is that why he's so bitter about it?
Do
Like,
we also know why Billy D. Williams didn't reprise his role from the other two films?
Oh no, Billy D. Wasn't even asked.
So they put Harvey Dent. They put Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent after being Lando, and probably that was like a good sort of arc for him and going into Batman. And then they're trying to make a sequel, and they used both Alfred and Commissioner Gordon, but didn't use.
So, but the idea of Billy D. Williams being Harvey and stuff was Burton's.
Right.
It was all Tim Burton, and so there was there were plans, and there was a script, and there are actually, if you look for it, there was concept art drawn up for what Tim Burton was proposing, and it does include Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. So it was fully intended, and then when they were like, "Oh, he's coming to the fore," and they're going to make him a primary character, like it's going to be a character. So I think the thing is, because they had, like with Batman Returns, despite all the marketing hash they had with it, that poster, Keaton, DeVito, Pfeiffer, that was a real draw, that big poster. And they were like, oh, we need names. I'm not sure Billy D. Williams is going to be big enough, because he wasn't superstar. Like, he'd done some bits and pieces, but he wasn't superstar. No. And if you're going to put Jim Carrey in the film, who was always fully intended to be the Riddler, then it would be Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Billy D. Williams. They were like, we need a big hitter name. And at this point, Tommy Lee Jones was having a bit of resurgence. Like, the same year this came out, you get Men in Black. You've just recently had The Fugitive and Under Siege. So the guy, he's a known commodity. So that's why they chose him. So it was a studio effort, but it was fully supposed to be Billy D. if Tim Burton had carried on. But yeah, the problem is, and this goes to the opening monologue, that I really wanted to pay attention to his performance, because basically you can't miss it for a start. Like, he just he basically storms onto every scene and just starts chomping up scenery, like nom 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 nom. Gary's like left with nothing to do. They hated each other, by the way.
Yeah, I read an article briefly. I saw a title for it.
Yeah. They really actually, I think they openly said they hated each other as well, didn't they?
Oh yeah, there was animosity on set. Like, they didn't talk to each other and stuff, other than the scenes they filmed. But which is, I think, probably why Tommy Lee Jones gives the performance that he does, to be perfectly honest. But there's his opening monologue where he's talking to the bank security guy. He does it like Jack Nicholson's Joker. But when you listen to what he's saying, you're thinking, like, if you'd have pulled back and done this more in line with, your sort of like real, that grumpy persona, or that more serious, dramatic persona, like that monologue would have really been way more sinister. Because he's telling the guy on the floor, like, you've got 50-50 chance. I'm going to flip this coin and I may shoot you in the face, or I might let you go, and then let's see what happens. But he plays it all like this, woo, like fucking like Cesar Romero Joker. And you're like, sorry, you've lost all your threat because you're coming off like a clown. It doesn't work.
No, and it's worsened by Jim Carrey's Riddler. I think Jim Carrey's Riddler is unbearable to be around, but I think that he doesn't do an amazing job, I wouldn't say. But then I think mine's kind of tainted because the Riddler in Gotham is so good. But I and the Riddler in sort of the Batman Arkham games as well is different, and is also, he's dialed down a bit, because it is, Jim Carrey's Riddler is about 45% Jim Carrey, 55% Riddler. Like, I think it's all right, but I feel like they really need, as you kind of say, like a more Tommy Lee Jones style character to be.
You needed someone to be, you needed that
wind back.
You literally could have had and really personified the whole Two-Face thing by having them be the yin and yang, like the energy and the somberness. But if you're in 1995, if you are hiring Jim Carrey, you are hiring Jim Carrey. Do you know what I mean? You are not hiring. This is before the Truman Show and Sunshine. You know, was it
Eternal
Sunshine and all those films? No, this is Ace Ventura and The Mask. Jim Carrey, like, this is, you are hiring him because of that. And you know, you say about the Gotham Riddler and the other things. The reference point they have, especially in Hollywood, because don't forget, they never read the comics, so no one's going to pick up like a comic and go, "Oh, the Riddler is actually he's an intellectual," and all this other stuff. They're going, "What did they do in Batman '66? Oh, you had Frank Gorshin jumping around in like a leotard with question marks all over it." So what do we want? We want Jim Carrey in a singlet but with lights on it. All right.
I found the Riddler really confusing. I didn't like the premise of it. So he has obviously this machine that he puts on his head, and he can suck the IQ points out of people, and then he absorbs that. He absorbs their intelligence. Yeah, that's the premise.
I assume so, yes.
But why does it not affect the person? He like absorbs all of the IQ points, but they're just as smart as they were before. Yeah. So how has he absorbed that information and they are still the same as they were? I don't understand.
Well, one of the things I find with this, it's one of those films where they've gone, we're doing a silly action film. It's going to be, it's a daft Batman film. And then they introduce this idea, weirdly, that's ahead of its time, because they use the word streaming several times. And I was like, it's a box in everyone's house. And I was like, wow, this is ahead of its time by like 15 years. But they're also like, it's almost like an indictment of TV, of entertainment. Like, we're streaming this straight into your home and everyone's sat at home and you're making a film. You want everyone to go home and watch this. Like, surely that's the point. So I find that a bit odd as well. So I don't know. The whole plot the villain plot in this film is secondary. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Because I don't know what Batman really has a problem with, like you say. Because at no point, other than maybe like Bruce, maybe there's a whole scene we don't see where Bruce is looking at his stock options and going, Wayne Enterprise is taking a real hit. I'm gonna have to take out Nigma Tech because they're really battering us. So Batman and Robin, actually, what you don't realise is the end of this film is actually industrial espionage. It's not taking down a villain at all.
Well, one thing as well we're keeping in line with the Riddler, I noticed, is that his hairstyle and outfits change constantly.
Oh yeah,
but
Mike was getting irate about the hairstyle
because I think I wrote notes about it because it was Jim Carrey normal sort of mid-length hair for a guy in the 90s, and then he cuts it in that weird buzz cut, almost army.
It's like pink, isn't it?
Yeah, almost like an army cut, like a flat. And then he goes back and he does another thing. I think,
and then it's brushed because he's at like an event and it's all fancy.
And it's back to the brown hair somehow, like perfectly undamaged by all the dye and the cut. But then the next scene, he's got blonde hair again, and then the next scene he has the blonde pink hair, and then the next scene he has the pink hair again, but slightly different. And you're just thinking, how has he got this much time to change his hair so often? But then he changes his costume every scene he's in. And I think the light up question mark thing, I saw that and I said to Megan, I was like, that's really cool. I really like that. And then he just doesn't wear it again. And he wears one that's worse in the next scene. And you're like, why did you keep that? That's probably one of the coolest Riddler outfits I've ever seen. And you literally use it for one scene and then change it for something worse. I don't.
Well, one of the things I always say about these films, and it's sort of, they even poke fun at it with Robin's outfit. So when Robin later on, or Chris, Dick Grayson comes in and he's got like a similar armored, suit to Batman. They go, "Who's your tailor?" He says, like, "Who's your tailor?" And sort of like you got Alfred going, "Hey, yeah, what?
Yeah.
Who's got two thumbs and can mold rubber? This guy." And you go like, "All right, fair enough. I'm going to accept this, this really thin thing that like Alfred somehow manages to create these outfits."
who is like, because it's a mystery who the Riddler is apparently. But again, like world's greatest detective, don't forget. But who is Edward Nygma hired to make? He's not making these himself. Like he's not sat there at a sewing machine going, "This is gonna look great." This, gonna have LEDs down the front and everything. Like just someone in a tailor shop go, "This is really weird." This guy keeps coming in and asking for question marks on his suit. Like,
but the first one he takes from the thing in the box, doesn't he?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea.
But also, what was fun is that in Batman and Robin, you see it in the police lockup. And I was like, I like that. I was like, that's the only good thing about this film that I've enjoyed so far.
A minor Easter egg. Ooh. Yeah. So I agree. No, the villain plot makes no sense, or the A plot makes no sense whatsoever. Like I don't understand what I don't even understand what the Riddler's endgame is. He's like, it makes me smarter, and he's like, so you're doing this to become better than Bruce Wayne. So at what point? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, and the only reason that he doesn't like Bruce Wayne is because he didn't sign off on his proposal.
Yeah.
That's why he's got this vengeance against him, because he said no.
Yeah. All they needed to do was show that because this is what I thought was going to happen. It was almost quite a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, almost sort of crazy silliness of like almost Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when they put the lemon on the head and stuff. And, where he's got this crazy device, and you're thinking when he does that guy when he first does it, you're thinking, oh, that guy's head's going to explode, or he's going to be a zombie. I was like, and then let's make it.
And then he's just fine.
Normal.
You're just like he was before.
So why don't you just get every world leader to wear this thing, absorb all the intelligence of everyone, and then surely you've got a better world? Like, why is this a problem?
There is a version of this where those devices are used for people to like say to see things from another person's point of view and increase a person's empathy and solve world peace.
Yeah.
And so, but Bruce Wayne's going, no, I don't like this. No,
it's not about this. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I'm not signing off on this. Yeah, I don't know. It's awful. I mean, and that's one of the key problems with this film for me. It's like no one's motivations ever really make any sense. Like Two-Face wants to kill Batman, but doesn't seem to really focus on that a whole hell of a lot. Like he just sort of seems to be doing an awful lot of other stuff that doesn't really seem to center around trying to kill Batman.
That's all he does. He just cackles.
Yeah,
he cackles around.
He just laughs
and does half and half
when
interior
he turns
design.
up to, like Nygma has that big like the opening party of Wayne of Nygma Tech, and then Two-Face turns up with his goons, and then he just stands on the steps and watches. And I was like, You want Batman dead? You've got massive guns. Do something about it. And then it becomes an elaborate thing where they go down into the building site or the sewers or something, and it's like, oh, this is dragging on. Like that's where I'm like, this is dragging on.
That film did drag a lot.
Isn't there a part as well where either the Riddler or Two-Face has Batman and they've got a gun to his head or something, and then they go, no, I've got something else planned for you.
Yeah, they invade Wayne Manor, and he is about to. And you basically, like, the whole thing of mixed justice, 50-50, goes out the window because Harvey sits there flicking his coin until he gets what he wants.
Oh, yeah.
He goes like, oh, clean side of the coin. Oh, I'll do it again then. And then when he gets the scratch coin, he's like, yes. And I'm like, then you're not
do it in the first place.
Yeah, you're not obeying your own logic. Like, this makes no sense. This is like Trump logic, where you're like, well, I'm going to keep doing this until it's right. And you're like, it doesn't make any sense. It's awful. It's the same in this film. I want to ask a question. How old do you think Dick Grayson is supposed to be in this film?
Oh, we had this conversation.
We looked this up.
So I looked it up. I thought that he was meant to be around 17, 18.
Yeah.
I assumed. He was 25.
The
actor is 25. I was like, that does not look like a kid. I was like, I said to Mike, I was like, he looks our age.
Yeah.
And we're 26.
I wouldn't call him a kid. I was like, if someone called me a kid now, like I'm 26 now, so it's like nearing 27. So if someone called me a kid, I'd be like, unless you're 60 plus, you can't really get away with that at the moment. Like, he's old enough. He's been through quite a lot. He's as tall as Batman. He could probably beat him up as well. Yeah. It's like, it's not like Michael Cera, from like Lego Batman. Like, if it was Michael Cera, I'd be like, you know what? That makes sense. He's a kid. He could beat him up. But
yeah, that was bizarre. I'm surprised they didn't pick someone.
Well, they make there's a comment. There's a drop line in this film when he says,
who are you going to be? He says, you should be Dick Grayson, college student. And so I went and checked. So you're right. He's actually supposed to be 19 in this film. That's what they're supposed to be. But he doesn't look, like he's 25. I would say you could call him anywhere between 25 and 30. Like,
yeah, easy.
But also, if like obviously his whole family died, which is super sad. But like, but it's not Batman's responsibility to take him. He's overage. He's 19. Like, he's an adult. And he lives and works in like a fucking carnival. Like, I'm sure he could like land on his own 2 feet rather than just living at this like rich white dude's house.
This is the problem, and this is a real problem in this film. So in the original obviously iteration, like Robin, Dick Grayson's supposed to be like 12 when his parents die. And the carnival actually do say, we'll take him on, but the authorities say, no, we need like a proper guardian, and you can't, the circus can't. So that's where Bruce Wayne steps in, because he does see the murder. But they say, like, so it works when the kid, when Dick Grayson's 12, and you play this out, it sort of works. Because, he'd be an upstart.
It mirrors Batman in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I think Batman's a bit younger.
Exactly, and that's the point, because he's supposed to see himself, this young boy that's had his parents killed in front of him. When he's a 19-year-old, you go, are you going to get a job? Are you going to go and do something? Like, it's such a weird decision in this film to have him be basically an adult, and like say for Bruce Wayne to go, I'll look after him. Because even, where is it, when Commissioner Gordon drops him off, which, why the hell is the Commissioner dropping him off as well?
It's because he does nothing else in the town. Yeah. He does absolutely fuck all for Gotham.
Flick the light on.
Except turn the light on to get Batman to come. That's literally all Commissioner Gordon.
He doesn't even know who Batman is still either, which makes it even funnier. So it's like
But this is a whole other issue with Batman that I have a problem with. Why does everyone just put their blind trust into this guy who literally no one knows the identity of? They're like, oh well, yeah, he's helped us out a few times, we'll allow it. We won't find out who it is.
It's a light in the sky saying, help us,
No, but
please.
what I mean is that they're turning a blind eye to him because they don't know who he is.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
There's a real problem. It's a real problem. Even in the comics. But that's also the problem with the whole of super heroics, isn't it? Like, everything else. Like, why do any of them really trusted? But yeah, I honestly got to the position where I was watching it. But this is the first time where I've watched it, because I know that we've spoken about Commissioner Gordon being useless in the first two films. But when he drops Dick Grayson off, I came to the conclusion that he's quite old in this film. Like, the actor playing him sort of knocking on a bit. I don't think he is Commissioner anymore, but they just don't want to tell him. I think somebody else is now the Commissioner of Gotham, and they just keep saying to him, just give Jim Gordon a job. What are we going to do? I don't know, keep him busy. Tell him he's responsible for the light on the roof, and then he can just ferry some people around every now and then. And
all the ceremonies, because he was at the wasn't he at the start in Batman Returns? He was in that.
Yes.
Just turning the lights on and cutting the ribbon. You're thinking, surely
he's basically Santa at Christmas that turns on Christmas lights. That's what he is.
And he goes to the circus as well. He's there at the charity circus. And he's completely ineffectual. He's like, why is this person even in any position of authority? He's rubbish.
He also he hangs around Bruce Wayne all the time and still doesn't connect the dots.
Yeah, he's rubbish. He's awful. But when he drops Dick Grayson off, he actually says, like, the kid really needs someone to look out for him. And even I'm going, why? Why is he not going off with the circus? Like, he's known these people clearly all his life. They're the people that can help him work through his grief. They're the people that can give him what he needs. Why isn't he off with the circus? This makes
rather than a literal stranger.
Well, and also they don't know he's Batman, Bruce Wayne. So it's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
so...
he hasn't even met Bruce Wayne. He's met Batman.
No, exactly. So it's like, this guy who went to my circus, who saw me basically watch my parents die, and he's this billionaire playboy who is known for being terrible with women, not having any attachments, and not having any long-term girlfriends. Let's give him a 19-year-old who just watched his parents get killed. He's going to be the best role model.
So, Bruce, what are you intending to do with this broken and grieving boy? Get pissed. We're going to get absolutely shit-faced. And then we're going to hit the town. Yeah. The other thing as well, as I'd say in this, just remind me with Dick Grayson is this film seems to fall into that 1966 mold. It's getting sillier. And I understand that, like, the whole concept of Batman can be silly, but getting to the Batcave through the silver closet. Why does anyone even have a silver cupboard as well? I don't know. That's how rich Bruce Wayne is, I suppose. But when there are two occasions that like people break into the Batcave in this film, not once, not twice. It happens twice. But and so when Dick Grayson breaks in, I'm like, oh, okay, like he's obviously, wants to know what's in this one cupboard for some reason. Like, he's got a suspicion.
It's the only one that's locked in the house.
Yeah,
He makes a point of saying it.
But also, and he says to him, like, it's the silver cupboard. It actually is the silver cupboard, because when he goes through it, it's all the silver stacked up on the shelves, and then he goes through the back rotating wall into the Batcave, which is daft enough. But when Two-Face, and mainly the Riddler, when the Riddler invades the Batcave with his techno walking stick, and you have the alarm going off, intruder alert, intruder alert. Why do all of the computers and all of the technology appear?
That's exactly what I said. I was like, if there is an intruder, why is this like super ingenious system not shutting itself down?
That comes out and spins,
that doesn't make any
it?
sense. Yeah, it literally opens up everything. I was like, that makes no sense. Why would you say intruder and then literally open up everything and be like, here you go, intruder, have it on the silver platter that you've come through on the silver door? Like, it's so ridiculous.
Because in the previous film, back in Batman Returns, like his car security was armor plating across the entire car. I mean, granted, they break it down, but yeah, the moment when he comes in and the car like rotates up and Jim Carrey's Riddler's like, impressive. And I'm just going, no, stupid. This is really, really stupid.
You did also touch on there, which is Riddler's cane, which you questioned many times in that film, didn't you? Where it's just like, it's just this his magic stick that seems to somehow do everything.
Yeah.
Because he's really, and Megan kept saying to me, so how's Riddler doing this? And I was like, because he's really smart. But how does he do this? Because he's even smarter than he was last time. But he's just got a magic stick. It's like, it's a smart stick. It's just, it rotates. I think it swaps halfway through though. I think halfway through the film, it changes slightly.
It does. Well, it goes from being a question mark, in the end it's a skull in the last scene. For no reason. Like the question mark is clearly is the obvious, that's, stick with that. Why have a skull? It's stupid. Yeah, like to show that it's technological, it's basically got some running red LEDs on it. So it's basically Knight Rider, but in a walking stick form. That when they invade, and the way they figure out that Bruce Wayne is Batman as well, using that thing. I mean, granted, I understand that's where the technology can be dangerous, because they're like, we can read people's minds. So that's sort of the point, isn't it? Stealing everybody's bank numbers and secrets, and you're still like, but I still don't know what you want to do with that information, because you don't want people's bank codes, because you've literally just set up a really successful technological company. Why do you want to steal people's money? You've just made your own fortune. I don't understand that. I don't understand this. But if he was to say, I can steal, the secrets from a general or the president or something, and sell them to somebody, you go, oh, that makes more sense. But when he's talking about bank numbers and stuff, I'm like, you're really thinking too small. But I forgot what I was going to say now. But yeah, it's just the whole thing of the Riddler and his thing at the end, where he sort of, when they figure out, that's it, they read Bruce Wayne's mind and they see that he's got bats on the brain.
Yeah.
And you go, who has got bats on the brain? And they go, oh, he's got to be Batman then.
No one else could possibly be thinking about bats.
I'm thinking like, well, it depends. I say, depends. You're in Gotham City, so you might.
A lot of people would be thinking about bats because of Batman.
Yeah, because you're in Gotham City, and it's just a bizarre, really weird thing where you're sort of like. It comes down to that 1966 version of deduction, isn't it? Where they go, here's that one piece of information, and from that, I have deduced the entire plot.
Yeah, this is the film where he keeps having like random flashbacks, isn't it?
Yeah,
he has like
for ages.
Yeah, because then he starts talking to the psychiatrist woman, Chase.
Yeah.
All of them merge into one for me.
Well, I understand that. I understand why as well, because there's so at this point, especially this one and the next one, they are so ill-defined as an idea that they just don't work. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you come to the end of this film, and it's supposed to, if this had been Michael Keaton and they'd played it a bit more serious, or not serious, but they'd played it less campy and neon, it may have even been better, because then you've had this thing of Michael Keaton's gone through this stuff, and now he's going like, yeah, I can be Batman and Bruce Wayne. And again, what's he say? Not because I have to be, but because I choose to be.
Yeah.
And you go, all right, that sort of is a good psychological balance that you've chosen to be. Probably still not entirely healthy, but okay. But this whole thing at the end about Batman's not supposed to kill, and so he talks Dick Grayson's Robin out of killing Two-Face. But then Batman accidentally kills Harvey, but never attempts to save him when he falls off the thing.
He's just like, I'm done with your shit now. I'm not gonna try.
Yeah.
There you go. Bye. See ya.
For someone who doesn't kill, I know he in 89 and in Returns he doesn't directly kill the people, but it seems like
he does. In Returns he attaches a piece of dynamite to someone and pushes.
Pushes down the that's true. The killer clown guy, isn't it? Yeah. Aside from him, they kind of try and make this fuss about not killing, and it's just. I think the problem is with these films, they're quite disjointed. I feel like they, in some ways, they kind of suffer similarly, almost how I find to the Star Wars films, the sequel trilogy, where there's certain parts where it feels disjointed, where things don't marry up because someone didn't really think things through all the way. But in this one, what they've kind of done is, where Megan said that they kind of merge into one, mine both merge into two. It's just the Michael Keaton Batman Returns and
the Schumer
the Schumer ones. And the thing is that the villains, even in the Nolan verse and stuff, most superhero films generally, is kind of the way you kind of remember the different Spider-Man films or the different is you remember, okay, what happens? Normally it's the villains. So, okay, Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, that's Doc Ock. Okay. And you kind of remember from there. But with Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, although I do remember the villains, the problem is that I don't really remember. And I watched Batman and Robin within the last couple of hours, and we watched Batman Forever, I think, in the last week. I can only vaguely remember what happened. I wrote notes down and we're talking about it, but it's still with Dark Knight, which granted I've seen a few times, but I've probably only seen it all the way through probably 4 times. I know the majority of everything the Joker did because everything he did was so interesting and different. Yeah. And it's the same with Batman Begins in a lot of ways, and even Dark Knight Rises, which is flawed but brilliant. But it's these films, they make a mess out of things, which you'd think it's almost like they over and under complicating their villains. They overcomplicate the plans, but undercomplicate the villains. Whereas what you should do is the other way around. You should have a complicated person with quite a simple plan. That's really how it should work, and they flipped it.
You are spot on, because they clearly go in, and I mean, this film was driven by casting. There's no other option that I can take from this. Is they went, right, well, we've got Val Kilmer as the new Batman, and then we've got Tommy Lee Jones, and we've got Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was the big get for this film, and that's it. Then they're like, they might as well just turned up and ad-libbed a bunch of stuff. Play Batman for an hour, and we'll come film it. Anyway, let's find.
I think they did before. Sorry, they did the same with Nicole Kidman as well, though, because her in this film makes me think of her in the Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
And in the Moulin Rouge, she's so exaggerated, and there were similarities between her and her character in the Moulin Rouge, especially when she's trying to be the courtesan, etc., and try and impress. It was the same thing when she was trying to impress Bruce Wayne. I was just, or rather Batman. It's just like you're too much. Everyone's just too much in this movie.
It was like all the annoying parts of Catwoman. Like I didn't hate Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I thought she did things well. I thought there were issues, but she did generally was all right. But I thought all the parts that annoyed me about Catwoman, they've just put in Chase Meridian, but without being a vaguely badass supervillain. So you've just got these really annoying, weird, overly sexualizing, bland personality. You're just lusting over Batman for no real reason. Or the whole he saved me, or he's this person of power or anything. It's just like that when you've already done that in a previous film, but with a character that's way more complex. We've got a bit more silly, but more complex. It works a bit better. But when you take away half the personality, you've just got this female kind of almost object. She's barely really.
Well, at this point, even Vicky Vale in the '89 one's more interesting, and she was dreadful. As a character, she didn't do a great deal, but she was better. It's almost getting. You mentioned Bond earlier on. They're becoming the Batgirls, aren't they? Who's going to be this one's Batgirl at this point?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. But let's just round out because let's get to my the real gem of this discussion. So what were your final thoughts on Batman Forever?
I probably wouldn't watch it again.
No.
I mean, like, I didn't completely hate it, but I did not particularly enjoy it by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I'd say if I kind of rated them thus far, I'd probably say Batman and Batman 89 and Returns. I think Returns are slightly better than Batman 89, but they're both like high 7, low 8, maybe even a mid 8 for Batman Returns sort of thing. I think they're solidly good, fun films. And then Batman Forever, I'd probably say is it's almost like I almost feel about it similarly to, oddly enough, how I feel about Man of Steel, which the first hour or so is actually fairly good, but from that mark it then loses me. Man of Steel loses me for a completely different reason, but with this one, an hour through, you're like, okay, Tommy Lee Jones is pretty annoying, and the Riddler, you can see where this is going, but you kind of vaguely get there, and then you get halfway through the film, and you're like, but it's like a song made out of one note. Yeah, it just goes on, and you're just like, you're not the second hour of the film doesn't add anything.
Yeah,
that
the
first hour didn't have.
Nice note. If it was a nice note and it could be a bit droning, but it's not. This is someone just going for 2 hours. Just like,
I think maybe six out of 10, maybe. Like, I did enjoy parts of it, and it was a fun movie, and I could see how people can enjoy it. It's one of those films where I look at it, I see the good bits out. I can see some people thinking the good bits outweigh the bad bits. And I think I feel that way as well. Yeah, they're just a bit too close for comfort. So I think this is good, but definitely I don't think I'd watch it again, because if I wanted to watch a Batman film like this, I would just watch the Keaton ones because they're just better.
Yeah. Well, let's Megan, anything you want to add as well before we move on?
No, I think I've said everything about this movie.
So let's move on to the film that not only killed the Batman franchise, but basically killed the idea of doing superhero films at Warner Brothers for almost a decade.
Jesus Christ.
But its rating on IMDb was the thing that shocked us when we looked it up. We're not shocked. Well, now we've seen it, we're like, oh, that's quite high. It was like 3.8, which is one of the lowest I've seen of many, many films.
Yeah.
So again, Val Kilmer, having gotten not panned, but had an uncomfortable experience being Batman, didn't want to come back. So they went out and they looked for someone that they could afford, that would come in and do as they were told. And George Clooney at this point was obviously big in ER, I believe.
Yeah, he was in ER.
And had made a couple of films, but he wasn't the name that he's obviously now. Like, now George Clooney is like a megastar, and he's done all these amazing films. He's written, he's directed, he's produced and starred, and all this other stuff. Done like proper films. So he was an up and coming. He was looking for his way into Hollywood at this point. So he accepted Batman, thinking it was going to be his way in, and then they went off and did the rest. And what I find interesting, if you watch the trailer for this, and if you look even the cover art for this film, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets top billing.
Really?
Yeah, so Arnie gets top billing for this film. More than that, I just watched the trailer before this, right? And I actually took out did a very quick stopwatch. It's a 2-minute, 20-second trailer. Of that, George Clooney gets less than 40 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
Guess who gets all of the screen time?
Miss Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'll tell you what now. He looks cool doing it.
Didn't he make some sort of? I think I remember my brother telling me this. Saying that Arnold Schwarzenegger was trying to force them to have the name called Batman: Return of Mr. Freeze or Attack of Mr. Freeze or something like that.
Yes, he. So at this point again, this is 97. So this is actually sort of tail end of Arnie's career, in many ways. Or at least it's sort of before he became governor. So he'd had sort of his action films of the sort of 90s. And he'd had it was after this. Was it before this? It's around this time he has a heart bypass. So, he lost a bunch of weight and all this other stuff. And he was trying to come back in 97 with a bunch of films that were passable. But this was his big thing for 1997. And I will say this, and this is going to be controversial. In a year in which Princess Diana was killed, I still think this is the bigger travesty. So,
Jesus.
So you get Arnold Schwarzenegger anyway, and you get the return of George Clooney coming as Batman, the return of Chris O'Donnell, who clearly up for glutton for punishment. You get a young Uma Thurman, who I don't really know what she's doing in the 90s. And then obviously you get joined by very 90s girl, 90s Valley girl, Alicia Silverstone, her, who, according to all reports now, had a very rough time of it in the 90s. And if some of the stories from some of the Me Too things are true, no wonder she left Hollywood.
Which one's that? Sorry, what person?
So Batgirl.
Oh, Batgirl. Oh,
She's
the
one
one
from
that was in
Clueless.
Clueless. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently she had a real rough time of it. So I will be ripping into her in this film, but I acknowledge that she probably had a tough time whilst being in Hollywood. But this film, a bit like with Batman Forever, opens with a statement of intent, doesn't it, really? So with sort of Batman Forever, you get the bank robbery and you watch that and you go, okay, it's going to be a little campy and it's going for this, but the action's not awful and they're going to try and have like a helicopter chase. This film, however, opens up and is just going to go, yeah, we are going to take the piss from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It does double down on. It's one of those weird things where you watch Batman Forever and you go, hey, what are the worst parts about this film? Let's make the majority of this film consisting of those parts.
Yeah. What were your thoughts? I've been 10 minutes in because you've had you get the
It's the hockey team, isn't it? From hell.
Team. Yeah, it's basically the action. The freezes sort of like, well, I think they're freezes things, but the ice things and all the puns from the very beginning.
And you got that bit, Megan. Do you remember the close-ups that you loved when they were suiting up?
Oh yeah, like right at the beginning, literally right at the beginning. Why are there so many close-ups of their crotch? They do like the massive close-ups of their costume, well, suits, and there's like a close-up of their crotch, a close-up of their arse, and the close-up of their nipples. And I'm just like, why are you doing this? And then they do the exact same thing with Batgirl as well. And then there's a close-up of her crotch, there's a close-up of her arse, there's a close-up of her boobs. And I'm like,
then there's her arse again. But
there was 2 arse shots of Batgirl. Why? Why is that necessary?
I think they just did the men one so that when they inevitably did the Batgirl
They
ones,
couldn't
they could get away with it. I feel like
They do it. They do it in Batman Forever. Like it happens, but it's a very quick in Forever. So they're like, well, that clearly went down well. Let's do that again. Like, I'm surprised.
More.
I'm surprised there's not a scene of they're putting on their leathers. Why is there not a scene of Michael Gough's Alfred pulling up his trousers or something?
I would enjoy that more.
Doing his belt up and doing his
doing his braces, his belts and braces. I don't know. It's one of those things in this film that I will be perfectly honest. I've seen this film more than I should ever. When I was in 1997, when this film came out, the Odeon near me, we got a pass for the summer, and there was only a couple of films worth seeing that summer. I saw this probably 6 or 7 times in the cinema.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Yeah. And mainly because I hated myself at the time. I think mainly I must have been a teenager with a real problem. But there are scenes in this film that are just sort of burnt into my memory. And that opening scene's one of them. And, and then all the bad puns, and even when they try and make the little jokes, this is why Superman works alone.
Mm.
And you go,
there was one bit that did make me laugh, but I forgot that the character's name was Dick, and I just thought Batman was calling him a dick, so I started laughing. But actually, he was calling him Dick because that's his name, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought he was just being mean to him, and that made me laugh more.
It was the whole Poison Ivy bit, wasn't it? Where Robin was basically having a go at Batman and saying she loves me and all that sort of thing.
He was like, "You're just jealous because she loves me more." I'm like, "No, she's
and he's
doing
like, "No,
this
he doesn't,
weird voodoo
Dick."
pheromone."
Yeah.
And then Megan just cracked up, and I was like, "Dick is his actual name." And she was like, "Oh, that makes it less funny now." It's just like,
that's the problem with a character that was conceived in 1940. The character ages, the name doesn't age well.
Yeah, that's why they've got so many different Robins with different names now in it. But,
yeah.
Also, question: is there ever any reason behind the scenes, interviews, or anything why they gave the Bat costume nipples? Is there? I think Robin's already did in Forever, but why?
Yeah, why have they randomly got nipples?
It doesn't add anything except discomfort for me watching.
There was so the only thing I've ever seen was one of the costumers decided that they considered it to be akin to Roman and Greek armor, this idea of the perfect body form.
Right. Okay.
And that's all they've ever said. But you're like, that still doesn't need nipples.
It's better without nipples.
Like, that's literally what Michael Keaton had in the first film, but it didn't have nipples. Like, why is this weird? Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre. The only thing I'm surprised about is at the end of the film. Because at the end of the film they have like the highlighted suit. The sort of like, why are this? I'm surprised the nipples aren't silver. They've got this vision. Like, why not just have bright silver nipples or something? Like,
also, Batgirl's suit doesn't have nipples.
no,
It just points, doesn't it?
It has little pointy bits, but it doesn't have nipples. Why do the men have nipples for the Batgirl suit?
Free the bat nipple.
Free the nip.
I guarantee you, there was probably a discussion about that.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, there probably was. I found with the start of this film, I thought it started oddly well, which I think happens probably a lot of the time.
Okay.
On the basis that I'd heard, the thing is, because I haven't seen this film in God knows how long, probably over 15 years, I think. So I haven't seen it since I was very young. And I remember the Mr. Freeze bits being unpleasant. But I forgot how awful Poison Ivy was. So for the first 10 minutes, I'm like, I didn't watch this film and go, oh my God, this film's amazing. No, I watched it and I was like, okay, this is clearly not amazing. But I was like, is it just going to be kind of as bad as Batman Forever, but with really cheesy Arnie in it? Because there are some films that get really, really, really hated. And then I've watched them years after the hate. Like, I'd say Suicide Squad's one of them, where everyone fucking hated Suicide Squad. And I watched it and I was like, I don't hate this. I don't love it, but I did enjoy it. I just see it's flawed and kind of bland in certain ways. But I thought maybe it's going to be a film like that, and I didn't have the connection to the Keaton Batman that a lot of people did when they watched Batman and Robin. So I was like, maybe. So I watched the first 10 minutes and I was like, this isn't amazing. And I could now in hindsight, I could tell the dialogue is a bit weak. But like when they said the hockey team from hell, I was like, oof, okay, here we go. And then you've got all these basically hockey players wearing. I think the thing that kind of tweaked for me was when everything's all iced up and they've all got the ice skates on. And then Batman and Robin,
oh yeah,
they
magically have these shoes that just by chance have blades in them that they can just press a button and they now can ice skate.
And it's just that they
go gadget ice boots.
Yeah, and they're all just amazing ice skating. It's like, I know Batman's got a lot of talents and things, but like ice skate, like, I could understand Robin probably for being a trapeze artist in some ways, but I was like, does Batman, do they regularly have ice skating in Gotham? It's not an easy, especially with that suit on, it's so heavy, you'd be out of balance. It's just, and from that point, I was like, okay. And then every time Uma Thurman opened her mouth.
Oh my God.
I was like,
Jesus Christ. Right. So with her, she like obviously died. Well, died.
She's Catwoman. It's Catwoman.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've not actually seen anything with Uma Thurman in. But I know of her. So I was like, Mike, she's pretty famous, isn't she? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, right, so she's not dead then. She'll come back. That's going to happen. Yeah. And then she came back. But why, in every single Batman film, do all of the women villains talk like this? Why is everything elongated? And they just talk really weirdly. Why? All of them. Why? Catwoman and her do it.
They think it's sexy. That's the only thing I can think of.
Irritating as fuck.
It grates on me. It's almost like trying to sound like you're yelling, but doing it at a low volume.
Yeah, it is.
It's really weird. It's like they're trying to project their voice, but they're not talking any louder.
It's just the constant, like her constant monologue. I don't want to hear all of your thoughts out loud. No one else does that. No one goes around thinking, I'm going to kill all of these people and I'm going to do this and I'm just going to say all of my thoughts out loud. Like, I get it's for the premise, I get it's for the film, but it's really irritating.
What I say is, like, again, this is one of those films where her costuming, for example, is pretty good. Like the makeup and some of the costuming, I'm like, she looks pretty cool. And forgetting the stupidness of the bat suits, like I even think like Mr. Freeze's suit is pretty cool. Like
I like the blue lights and stuff. Yeah.
Some of the costuming's really cool. And then then they open their mouth and you go, oh shit, you've ruined it.
Yeah.
I would say with this film, if this was a film, if I watched this film in silence with subtitles, I would genuinely rate it higher because the way in which the dialogue in a lot of parts is very crap.
It's
but
also,
like
the rubbish puns.
Yeah, but the delivery of a lot of it makes it worse. And it just feels like George Clooney isn't really in it at all. He's just kind of almost just reading lines and wearing a bat suit. You've got kind of Robin kind of trying, but the problem is that Robin's character becomes unbearable. So he's the only actor really trying and maybe doing a good job, but because the dialogue makes the character so unlikable and so bland, and like he's just so fallen in love with Poison Ivy, and I know that's kind of her
He's
point.
just full of himself.
But he's just such a dick about it. No pun
He's
intended.
literally
you
a
know?
dick. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just you've got this unbalance of characters where you've got Mr. Freeze could be terrifying, but he's just this kind of laughing matter.
He is a laughing matter, and to the point that I wasn't even calling him by his name. I just started calling him the Snowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
He's just so
problem with this-
non-threatening.
the problem with this film is like everyone in this film I have seen do good work.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally everybody in the main cast. So like Uma Thurman, if you've not seen Kill Bill 1 and 2 or
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, she's done a load of she's done some Tarantino stuff. She's done other stuff where she's actually really good. Like Uma Thurman, there's a film called Gattaca that came out the same year, 2 years before this, 95. She's really good in that. All right. So she is a good actress, and I've seen her do good stuff. And then you watch this and you go, all right, you're shit. So it could be, maybe you had an off day. And I've seen George Clooney, as you sort of say, I've seen him do From Dusk Till Dawn. And then from then on, he's become like a proper actor. Like he can do some really good stuff. And you go, all right, well, that's Uma's had a bad day, and you were clearly have a bad day. Chris O'Donnell has lots of bad days, so I'll let that one slide. But then even with Arnie, you're like, well, I've seen Arnie. Like he knows how to do an action film. Like he knows how to.
That's the only thing he knows what to do.
Yeah.
It's like that's his thing.
Yeah, like he knows how to do those beats. Like this should be like easy for him to do all this sort of stuff with a bit of menace and a bit of thingy. So the only thing I can think of is, and Alicia Silverstone's a different one. Like she did Clueless, and she just redoes Clueless, really. So the only thing I can think of in all this is Schumacher.
It kind of makes me think in comparison to Episode 2 of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So Attack of the Clones. So I know that Ewan McGregor is a really good actor, but in that film he's shit. And it's down to the other stuff. It's not down to the actual actors themselves. It's down to like the script and all of the directions.
George
stuff.
Lucas was definitely, because he cut. The thing is, they both suffer from the same problem. Actually, I'd say, as Attack of the Clones and this is they both look incredible. Like the visuals of both films.
Yeah, like the actual
ice.
the editing of the ice and the way that the ice is done in this film is awesome.
Yeah, really, really good visual films. But then when you go down to it, with the script itself is either at points okay or quite bad, and then you've got it where the delivery is almost unanimously bad. And it's kind of the same with Attack of the Clones in a lot of ways. I'd say the last 45 minutes is great, but with that, you've got the Padme Anakin stuff that is so crap, and the dialogue is not only bad, but it's delivered terribly. So you're just watching this bit where you're like, not even the actors believe that each other feel this way about each other. So the whole thing, and it's the same with this, where like none of the actors really seem like they're giving it their all in the right way.
But it's also that the plot kind of just falls thin, really. Like I understand the concept for what Mr. Freeze is trying to do, because obviously he wants to try and like help his wife. But with Poison Ivy, I don't really get what she's trying to do. Like what does she want?
She says it, she says it at the end. Right at the end, she kind of says she says, "Yeah, I'll get you to freeze the whole planet, and then I'll plant those
plants
weird
to be able to fight for themselves."
But there's
That's
weird
what she
plants
wants.
in it. She makes that weird rat plant thing at the end, doesn't she? And she wants them
She's
to kind
supposed
of
to be like
rule.
an eco-terrorist, isn't she? Again, this is the thing where her teaming in that with Mr. Freeze or doing this whole thing makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. They're the opposite.
Yeah, literally, like one's summer, one's winter. So you're going like, well, what? Surely you should be antagonists against each other. He's literally killing plants in Gotham Park at one point with that big ice gun, and you're like, this makes no sense. Like it's just not thought out at all.
Yeah, I also just don't understand what her purpose is. Like all she does apparently is she can grow seeds really well. So well done for growing. Yeah. And then she blows pheromones in people's faces.
And there's the kiss of death.
And then she kisses people and they die
really slowly. Like she always takes forever.
She's basically like a female Harvey Weinstein. That's what she sort of does. Let's be honest. But the other villain I say in this film is Bane.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Bane.
He's just a zombie.
Yeah, and obviously so Bane came about in 1991 in the a massive story for Batman, in which Bane, and it's obviously replayed in Dark Knight Rises. Bane breaks Batman's back.
Wow.
But in the comics, like it's played out in this massive thing where Bane has sort of was raised in a prison. It's very much like the film, and has seen from a distance that he is like the ultimate challenge. Like, if I can break the Batman, then I can show that I can rule Gotham and all this other stuff. Like I will show the world that I'm this true thing. And so in the book, he sets up all these challenges to just exhaust Batman. So like he orchestrates a breakout from Arkham Asylum, and then he starts to do like he pays off gangsters in Gotham to start doing stuff. So like the city is being torn apart, and so Batman's all over the place. And he's like lowest ebb. Bane turns up and just starts challenging him to a fight. So like he's like, look, I've broken you strategically and tactily, and now I'm going to break you physically. And that's what he does. That's the point of the story. In this, like you say, all that sort of like intelligence and scheming and strategy, they're just like, no, we just want a big dude in a mask. And you get like,
he's basically like Frankenstein's monster before Frankenstein's monster like learns to read and gets intelligent.
Yeah, but that's it. That's exactly it. But it's such a wasted character. There's a character called Amygdala in the Batman universe, which is literally that. And you go like, why didn't you just use that character? Because that one fits what you want them to do. So yeah, it's awful. And so what they do to Bane is an absolute travesty. So the Tom Hardy one is a much better iteration of it. But again, but I love the fact it fits into the neon, because it's sort of like, and he's going to have neon pipes, and he's going to have this and that, and you're just like, oh, it's just.
There's that one scene, isn't there, like in the middle where they actually were towards the end-ish, where Uma Thurman, Ivy, and Freeze get a new, Ivy and Bane get a new lair, and it's in that place that's all actual neon, and it's those
neon people.
Yeah, with like the chains, they threaten Bane, and then they just attack them, and then Bane throws them once.
He throws them, and then they all just scarper. They all run away.
Like, oh, okay. I mean, I was like, if you each had a shiv, you could probably take on Bane. Like, he's pretty hench, but he's not like the Hulk. Like he's just a hench, scary dude with a mask on. Like, if 8 of you have got chains, you could probably do quite a lot of damage if you tried.
Well, you think like, he's like a big toddler. You just run in and start smashing his knees up, and he's done. You'd be like, oh, that was easy.
But the way he dies is pathetic.
Oh yeah, what I was about to say. One thing that made me laugh is when Bane dies, he obviously that liquid comes out of his head, and then he transforms back into his original body, which is really odd.
And not really explained at all. Yeah.
No, but the thing that makes me laugh is the creepy look between Robin and Batgirl. I was like, my reaction, they like grin at each other when it happens. I was like, my reaction wouldn't be that. If I saw this big monster suddenly shrink down to a normal sized human being, like jittering on the floor, my reaction wouldn't be this like smug smile. It would be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is that?
There's a cut scene, right, where they grin at him lying on the floor, right? And it obviously goes off to the next bit. But there's a cut scene there where they both go in with the knee and start really kicking into him while he's on the floor.
Oh my god!
It's not really.
Oh,
I was going to say.
You're right there, because that's what the reaction. But that's what that reaction tells me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I said.
Prone little idiot. Let's deck him. Let's really.
I thought for a moment I was like, I wonder if I can't remember if I said it, but I thought this would be the opportunity if this was like probably the Watchmen or maybe the Boys to curb stomp him.
Yeah, that's what they do to him.
The angle bit.
Yeah, that's my thing. There's a cut scene there where they really deck him, and then they walk in and go, "Is he taken care of?" Yeah, we nailed him. Yeah, that's the problem with this whole film. Like, it's just sort of, like you say, visually it plays out and it looks nice and that sort of thing. But there's nothing in it that ever, like, whenever they get to the conclusion of any of the characters, like, it just feels so unsatisfying.
There's literally no substance to this.
There's nothing, is there? I mean, even like Michael Gough has been your Alfred for this the 4th time, and he's obviously been knocking around. He's the only sort of one with any real emotion in his acting, and then he's on the verge of death, and they have.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was super predictable as well.
Yeah, but they have all these scenes of like Bruce and and Dick and I can't remember what she's called now in this, because she's not.
It's not Barbara Wilson. It's not Barbara Gordon. It's Barbara Wilson.
Barbara Wilson. That's it.
They're
playing this whole thing up about how sad they all are, but at no point do I really believe it. I'm almost like, it feels like you're pretending to be sad for the others, aren't you? You don't really care.
The thing is that right at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna die." I was like, "Alfred's gonna die."
You said that in the first 15 minutes.
I said it very, very quickly. I was like, "I have a feeling that Alfred's gonna die. They're setting it up for him to go." And then obviously you find out about Mr. Freeze's like wife, and I was like, well, now he's going to be cured.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not going to die anymore, Mike. He's going to be cured because they're going to somehow get this miraculous cure for this disease, because Mr. Freeze is doing it. And it's like one specific bit where they say he's got like the antidote to every single stage. And I was like, Alfred's going to be saved then. So all of this stuff has literally been built up for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, there's no stakes in this film at all, ever.
No, it is one of those things because, like, I'd say that Alfred is the best part of the film, which is sad because Alfred should never be the best part of a Batman movie because he's a lovely person, Alfred, but he's not that exciting. Apart from the odd times where he maybe puts a suit on or does something kind of like in Gotham, he's a bit badass a couple of times. But Alfred should never be the star. He is the supporting character because he's a good, calm, nice.
Because there's also the weird
person.
bit with him trying to send that disc to his brother.
Oh yeah, that is so
like the long convoluted bit with him trying to send a thing to Wilfred, which I'm sorry, but could they not think of a more original name?
Yeah,
it's basically the same as Alfred.
You said it's good. You said it wouldn't be funny if like Alfred died and then Wilfred comes in.
Yeah, because I was just like, what they're going to do?
Played by Michael Gough. Played by Michael Gough. I'm Wilfred. Bruce doesn't even notice. Just carries on. I'm Wilfred. All right, thanks, Alfred.
He's got slightly different colour
Because
glasses.
that's what I said to Mike. I was like, he's gonna send something to Wilfred so that Wilfred can come and become the new butler, so that he can become the butler, so that he knows the secrets. Yeah. Obviously, it was for Batgirl, but then she went down into the thing. I was like, well, obviously she's Batgirl.
Give this to Wilfred, but don't ever look at it.
Don't ever look at this.
Literally the next scene. Okay, look at that. It's like this is pathetic.
And then he said something. He's like, I thought you might come down here. It's like, all right, Alfred, why don't you just save us some time and tell her that this was here?
Was he waiting for her? Like, checking the time? Like, she could have drafty down here.
Because it could have backfired. What if she didn't look at it?
Exactly. He'd just be sat down there like a mug, wouldn't he?
Wait, that Batgirl suit for no reason.
Yeah. One of the things I just thought about is, Batman Forever as a title. It's called Batman Forever, so it's focused on Batman. But you're introducing Robin. And then this film's called Batman and Robin, and they introduce Batgirl. And it's almost like you're almost like you're slightly behind with your titles. It's almost like you've titled the film before this, so God knows what they were going to call the next one. I think it was actually going to be called Batman Infinity or something like that was going to be the next one. So they did tee up a follow-up, and then they saw the grossings and the reaction to this film and were like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
They could have. It's kind of annoying because I feel like almost from if you said to me, right, I have to nowadays, or maybe say pre-Dark Knight, if I was old enough, say you can make the next Batman film. What would you do after watching these four in succession? I would just go, okay. What I would do is I'd do something really dark, and I'd go Batman and Robin 2 or Infinity or whatever, and I'd have it as basically Batman would die at the end by some sort of really heroic action, like doing some massive thing, saves Gotham. Maybe it kills some sort of another big baddie because they seem to kill all the villains in every Batman film. Kill a big baddie of some sort, saving them, and then Robin becomes Nightwing. Because that's what I thought they were going to do in this film. Because I thought that's where they were going. I thought the film was going to, because I couldn't remember all of this. I just remember bits and pieces. But I was like, oh, they're alluding to the Nightwing stuff. They're alluding to that. And obviously, if I made the next one, I would have made it really gritty, really dark, killed Batman, got Robin to become Nightwing, and that's how it would have ended. Almost, well, actually, I won't say because maybe I haven't seen parts of the Dark Knight trilogy, but like there's certain parts of that remind me of what they could have done. And it's just like, I'm not saying they should have made Batman and Robin 2, though.
You're right. I mean, no one's ever really alluded to what the next concept was going to be, or who the villain was going to be. Like they just had a title, I think, and it stopped there. So. I'm not sure what I would do. On many of the podcasts I've done, we have talked about films and gone, well, if I was going to do this, as you say, so if I was going to fix this film, I would do this, or I would have done this with the character. There's nothing, or there's too much to do with Batman and Robin. It's one of those films where you get to a point and you go, what would you do to fix this? I'd burn it to the ground and start from scratch. I would
Except Alfred.
Except Alfred.
Except his storyline in this is really crap. So
I'll just say to him, Mike, I'll be like, Michael, you wait over there because you are coming back. And then you probably get knocked on the window from the guy who plays Commissioner Gordon, like, can I come back? And he's like, no. No point. There's no one that's taxing her.
I feel like they just tried to cram too much into it. Like I'm trying to compare it to the first set of films that we watched, like obviously excluding Batman 66. But like with those two Tim Burton films, obviously there was only one villain. Really, there was the Joker, and then there was Penguin. Obviously, they had Catwoman in the second film, but she's kind of a different one, isn't she? But then
they also in the second one they had that guy who's played by Christopher
Shrek.
Walken, but Shrek. But he was a villain, but he wasn't like a super villain. It was still
he plays
Penguin
as
being.
Penguin. Penguin is the
Yeah.
villain.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right.
But then in these two films, like excluding the animated one, they're bringing in so many villains that it's kind of really confusing, because why do there need to be so many villains in one film? Like, they've brought in 5 different villains.
Unless there's a point in actually, actually a reason why that would be it. If you're going to have a film which is going to have a villain team up. But as you say, like, Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze don't work at all. And also what annoys me is that at no point in this entire film does anyone even mention fire. Yeah. I'm just like, there's Mr. Freeze. Surely Batman's got a flamethrower or something. Would that not solve...
That sort of solves both of them, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. Like,
plants and
it's
ice.
like Pokemon all over again, isn't it? What's ice and grass weak to? Fire. Okay. I'm not a crime fighter, but I was thinking, if I'm going against a guy called Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, you just go with a flamethrower or some sort of batarangs that are like heated so much you can throw them through things, like red hot batarangs or something.
You go in and you go, right, here's your weed killer, go deal with her. I'm going in with a flamethrower, I'll deal with him. It's not a problem. I'm going in with an electric heater. That's all you need. Really.
That's the thing that Gordon does. That's the thing that Gordon does, isn't it, Megan? That what his one act in all 4 films.
The only thing that Commissioner Gordon has done to redeem himself is that the ice was on them and he managed to pull the lever that allows the ice to stop. Well done, Gordon.
It's the
Good
lever
job.
in Mr. Freeze's land that says freeze. It's the lever that says freeze and then heat. And then you just flick the lever and it goes from being a place which Mr. Freeze probably created, this sort of area, and he put in a setting specifically called heat.
Also, the hilarious thing about it is, as soon as the heat lever then got put down, everyone was fine. They weren't too cold anymore. They were able to get up and run after Mr. Freeze as if nothing had happened, even though a second ago they were literally crippled on the floor.
Yeah. So if you get really cold, like if you get proper cold, even from the snow or something, and you come in, it takes a while to heat yourself back up. It's like,
you'd be crippled. Yeah. No, I don't think this film deserves any more commentary. Any final thoughts on Batman and Robin, other than I loathe this film?
I'd say visually, if I had to give it just a rating on visuals, I'd say it's an 8 out of 10. But because of every single other part of it that comes into the film, including the acting, the plot, the dialogue, the delivery, I mean, when I saw IMDb's 3.8, I think it's probably about that. I'd say it's like a 3 or 4 out of 10 in the basis that it's not the worst film I've ever seen, but the question is, why would you ever watch this if you can watch either the Keaton Batmans or any single other Batman story there is? Even Forever, I think Forever compared to Batman and Robin, it is quite a bit better. Forever's a couple of moments where you go, is this? Oh. Whereas Batman and Robin is more so the opposite, where it's always, and there's moments there's like a little moment here and there you go, oh, that wasn't atrocious, and it's okay, it's crap again. So I'd give it like 3 or 4 out of 10, maybe. Just why would anyone watch this over the Keaton ones? What about you, Megan?
I hated it. And it's so dumb that it's not even funny. Like movies like The Room are so stupid that they're funny.
So bad they're good.
Yeah, this film is just shit. And I probably will never ever watch it again in my life.
The humor's bad as well. I forgot that's one thing.
It's the puns. There's just too many puns, and it's just cheesy as hell. And
some of them aren't even good.
No, exactly.
Most of Mr. Freeze's ones were terrible.
I am so cool. No, you're not.
Oh, what was that Robin one that you hated? I remember it, with the Poison Ivy, and he said, "Oh, she's turned over and you left." And you're like,
dumb.
"Oh, for fuck's sake, really?"
The one thing is, I'd say, is Warner Brothers didn't learn their lesson. They didn't learn the Tim Burton lesson. So they sort of said, they gave, Batman 89 was a success. So they went, Tim, do what you want to do. And he gave them Batman Returns, and they were like, we can't sell this. It's scary. And so they brought in Joel Schumacher, and were like, Joel, right, can you work with us on this? We want something a bit more lighthearted and fun that we can sell to the kids. We want action figures. You've got it. And he gives them Batman Forever. And it does pretty well. The one thing I would say is Batman Forever did pretty well at the box office. And they went, he knows what he's doing. Joel, do what you want. And then they got Batman and Robin. And they're like, we can't sell this. It's rubbish.
Has Joel Schumacher done anything else? I should look this up. But
Joel Schumacher, he did Moulin Rouge. He did Lost Boys.
Really?
He did Phantom of the Opera. He did
Is that he produced
Flatliners.
them, directed them?
Wow.
Joel Schumacher did a load of films. This is him out and out doing what he. The thing I'd say is as well that with Joel Schumacher, he's sort of one of these. He was an openly gay director in the '90s and stuff, and like just didn't care. So he has done good films. Like don't get me wrong, like some Joel Schumacher films are really good. Lost Boys is really good.
Oh, Lost Boys is a cracking film. That kind of started the whole. That is one of the main films. Is the reasons why things like Twilight took off because the Lost Boys. Well, yeah, Buffy's excellent. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
But Buffy and Lost Boys, they're the sort of the pre-vampire era because there was that era of time where there's just shitloads of vampire films.
The thing I'd say is though, recently it came to light two things. First thing, if you watch, I've got Batman Forever on Blu-ray. I'll admit it. But there's actually a scene in there. So you know the bat that they keep flacking to, the one that's got the light coming down on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive animatronic bat. And there's a scene that was cut out of this film where when he has his, he's got the on his head in the Enigma's party, and he has this hallucinatory thing. He faces up to a massive 9-foot bat and has this confrontation with it. They don't fight or anything, but there's a moment of narration and stuff over it. And I've seen it, and it actually looks pretty cool. But they were like, it's too dark for this film.
Yeah.
So that got took out, and you're like, no, that's what this film needed. But there's also, it came to light, Joel Schumacher died earlier this year, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I won't rip on him for everything because he has done some really good films.
Wait, I was just looking. He's done Falling Down, which is a brilliant film.
Yes, there you go. That's what I was thinking of. That's an excellent film. So he did some great stuff. But apparently he let it be known that he had in his possession a nearly 3-hour cut of Batman Forever.
Oh my God.
And so,
Why?
Obviously there was release the Snyder cut, and then everyone was on to release the Ayers cut of Suicide Squad. For a brief moment, there was released the Schumacher cut. Release the Schumacher cut. Warner Bros. Release it. And then they sort of everyone went back and watched the film and was like, don't worry about it. We're good. Actually, not so worried.
Especially because by the
2
director
hours
himself.
was long enough.
It's like it's not like it was if it was the Burton cut of Batman Forever, I'd be interested. But if it's it's the director who made Batman Forever with more of it, it's like, I don't need another hour of Batman Forever. It probably could have shaved about an hour, if I'm honest. Maybe half an hour easy. An hour probably could have done with if it was I'll tell you what, if Batman Forever and Batman Robin was as long as Batman Mask of the Phantasm, they'd be much better movies.
Yeah, hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, you're done. That'd be fine. But yeah, there you go. We've done the bad stuff.
Now we get to do the good stuff.
I'm excited.
We've done the really bad stuff.
I'm very, very excited. Watching the Keaton Batman films has made me more excited for the Dark Knight ones again because I love show my cards before we even play. But I love the 3 Dark Knight
they
films.
work as a great trilogy. They are really up there, so I'm really looking forward to talking about them. But I'm going to give you some homework, and we'll catch up when we come back to the third part when we get around to it. But Tim Burton, obviously, also, did you notice at the end of Batman Forever, the doctor that takes Chase Meridian to see the see the Riddler, is called Dr. Burton, and has wild, crazy black hair. So it was obviously a bit of a nod to Tim Burton. Tim Burton went off and started to make Superman Lives in 90, and it was going to cast Nicolas Cage as Superman.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. 1995, Nicolas Cage. 1996, sorry, Nicolas Cage was cast as Superman. Okay. Now there's a documentary, and I'm not going to say watch the whole documentary. There's a documentary called "The Death of Superman Lives" about why the film started, lived, and died. But go on YouTube and just put in Superman Lives and look at Nicolas Cage in the Superman suit that they created.
I can't even picture that because Nicolas Cage is nuts.
Just go have a look at it, and we'll talk about it when we get back.
Okay, that's fine.
Tim Burton. If you think nipples on the bat suit is weird, you wait till you see what he did to Superman.
I'm typing it in just to get myself ready.
Well, you have a look at that. So I'm just going to let it go. But thank you very much, Megan, Mike. It's been a blast, and I apologise, but we've had to go through this to get to the other stuff. So as you say, on the next episode, we will be talking about the Nolan trilogy of Batman and all the stuff that goes with that.
And what's best about it, it's going to be even better as well, especially for you, Megan. It's going to be the low point of this because you hate it more than I did. The high points again because Megan's seen, You saw Batman Begins once in like Italian or something, and then you've seen Dark Knight once or twice.
Yeah.
But you've never seen Rises. So
Seen how bad it can get. All right.
It's been an experience.
Yeah. So if you've got it, if you've gone down to those lows, you can only get better. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening in. If you do want to come and speak to us, find me at 20th Century Geek on the Twitters. And Mike, where can they find you and where can they listen to you?
You can find Genuine Chits Chat on all your usual podcast places, Spotify, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts. You can follow me on social media at Genuine Chits Chat on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. And I've got my other podcast, Star Wars Comics in Canon, and that is on the feed of Comics in Motion. They release episodes every Saturday. Genuine Chit Chat has episodes every Sunday. And I'm just going, well, actually, at this point, it won't matter. So I will have just come back from a Christmas break as well. I have 2 weeks off.
Yes.
We're not doing any podcasting after this little weekend, which I'm quite excited about. But yeah, at Genuine Chit Chat, where you can keep up with most things. Yeah, with the editing, recording, and all this other jazz, it's like there's a lot to do. But 2021 is going to be an exciting year. I've got those planned.
Yeah. And Megan, do you want any of the nerds coming to find you to argue with you about your Batman opinions?
I mean, I'm not interesting enough to have a podcast, but if anyone has a burning desire to follow me on social media, I am on Instagram at Grits Gets Fit, and that's GRITTS Gets Fit, and it's a health and weight loss journey.
You take photos of your food, like
I take
mostly.
pictures of my food and just stuff like that.
And it's great as well when people see it, and they'll be able to go back on your feed for when this is released to the Christmas time, because they get to see all the homemade fudge that you've been making and all sorts of other stuff
Which
like that.
is not so on it with the health and weight loss journey, but you know.
Just because this will be going out in 2021, but just so you know, we're recording this on the 19th of December. So in the lead up to Christmas, it don't matter. Eat what you want. I've been taking photos of the food I've been eating as well. And like you say, most of it's either deep fat fried or covered in chocolate or both. So, you know.
Or just excessive amounts of cheese, which is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cheese is everything. That's what I say. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, we have our usual thing. If you like what we're doing and enjoy what we're doing, come find us on Patreon. That's Patreon/20th Century Geek. We do a monthly podcast on there called 30-Minute Thoughts. And I also have a quarterly podcast called Creator Corner, where I get on an independent creator to talk about one of their subjects or projects that they've been working on. But as usual, thank you very much. And we will catch you with the Cape and Cowl next time.